And so today we have Dr. Bolanle Adebayo, who has just finished her PhD at Virginia Tech, Polytech University in the USA. She's a graduate research fellow at IITA in Nigeria. And yes, so as I said, she recently completed her PhD at the Department of Agricultural Leadership and Community Education at Virginia Polytechnic State University. And her thesis shows that participatory research like tricot builds grassroots food system leadership via relational processes like knowledge sharing, community recognition, and bridging between researchers and local actors. And Bolanle presented her preliminary results of her doctoral research earlier this year in April on another 1,000 Farms webinar. And so today she's able to show us the more complete picture of the work that she's finished. So with that introduction, I will unshare my screen. And Bolanle, you can share yours. Oops. And there we go. Now you can share your screen and begin your presentation when you're ready. Thanks.
Good morning. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So it's still morning here, so that's why I said good morning. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so thank you, Rachel, for the introduction. And I want to say my research is on exploring participation in citizen science for leadership, identity development, and food system leadership. So I would like to thank the 1,000 Farms Project and everybody that helped, Mr. Dr. Bella, my IITA supervisor, because I'm a graduate research fellow at IITA, and Mr. Bello, Miss Duro, and Mr. Olamide, Glory, Gospel, and everybody on the gender, social science and gender team. So I'll start with my introduction, but because my research is like a lot, it's 300 pages, so I'm trying to reduce my words to maximize the time. So I'll not really spend a lot of time on the introduction and like the problem statement. So it's just the general issues on the food system, which many people have said required participatory approach, because oftentimes there's always like a gap between research and practice. And for food system challenges, which is complex adaptive challenges, requires like inclusion of a lot of stakeholders. And in agricultural and food system development, a lot of stakeholders have been introducing participatory approach. So among those participatory approaches, participatory research, which oftentimes in the past, there has been like epistemic injustice, in the sense that grassroots farmers and grassroots people in general have been excluded from like knowledge production and what counts like as valuable knowledge. So in recent times, one of those initiatives to curb this has been like citizen science, and which is the inclusion of non-citizen scientists to participate in research, just to ensure inclusivity and democratization. So I know a lot of people have background in citizen science, but the essence of my work is to check into those citizen science initiatives. So what does it translate to in community development? How does it affect food system development beyond just the knowledge production? So I looked into some citizen science initiative, and thankfully I've been part of IITA. So I saw that tricot approach, which is one of the citizen science initiative, it's different in a sense, because oftentimes citizen science initiative focuses on like data collection. So I was looking for how citizen science initiative will translate into leadership development, but from literature, not all participatory approach facilitates leadership development. So I wanted to know how tricot, because of its high level of participation, its presence in the community, the interaction on farmers' farm, how does that translate to like leadership development of those people that participate? And what is the effect of that leadership development? I mean, how they see themselves. and what is that effect in their community, especially on food system development. So that's what my research is all about. And I just wanted to know the implication of that level of participation on their identity. Does it make them see themselves differently as a leader that can contribute to food system development in their community? So, but I will use this term, which is a leadership term, as leadership identity development. So that's more like people often say, leadership scholar often say it affects leadership behavior because it's always like a prerequisite for leadership behavior. So if you don't see yourself as a leader, you would definitely not act in that regard, or how you see yourself in a way determine the way the way you do and your actions. So that's leadership identity development. So anytime I say leadership identity, is more about what people see of themselves. I mean, leader identity is what people say of themselves. Then leadership identity is what happens after they see themselves like differently. So I just wanted to know how Tricot provide a platform for that development. So for this, like in academia, we always want to know about what informs the study. So my study was guided by two theory, like social identity theory and leadership identity construction theory. So I just assume from social identity theory that when you participate in something, it makes you see yourself differently. And like we are part of IITA, we are part of like 1,000 farms, so we have responsibility which confers on us like roles. Then also when you're part of something beyond the roles, people in the community also start seeing you differently. So people think you are different and they have expectation of you. So that's from social identity theory. So I just assume that participation in citizen science will make people in the community like see them or differently, or how they see themselves will be different too. Then leadership identity construction, leadership identity development theory that I use. There are a lot of leadership theory, and oftentimes they come from like the Western society, which values like traits and position. But this particular theory, because most leadership theory weren't like developed from non-African setting, so I had to use one that is still within the Western community. But this one is relational. It's leadership identity construction theory. It was developed by Day and Harrison, Ashford, and Day and Ashford. So they said that leadership identity is developed through a process of like claiming and granting. So claiming, when I use the word claim, is more like behavior you enact in the community or with anybody to kind of show that you are a leader. So it could be like providing advices. So it is not in any way relating to position. So this is very important for my study. Then granting is anything anybody shows to kind of say, oh, I accept you as a leader. So it could be like taking the advice, it could be like requesting for advice, anything to just say I accept being the follower in this case. So that is the leadership identity development. So it occurs through claiming and granting process. That's how people get to see that this is leadership taking place. So I just assume that Tricot provide a space for that claiming and granting. So that was what I wanted to look out for in my study, that how do Tricot do that. So that informs my research purpose, which is like the study explore Tricot citizen sciences, personal and social experiences. So because I'm looking at relational leadership, not positional one, so I wanted to know the personal experiences, which is what happened to people that participate. Then social experiences, because I'm not looking at just leader identity. I'm looking at leadership identity. So I'll still break it down because I know these are leadership terms for like researchers that currently here and like agricultural practitioners. So social identity is like what happens in the community. Like social experiences is what happened in the community. So that's why I'm looking at two aspects of that for my research purpose. So for my research question is how, if at all, is participation in Tricot citizen science program perceived to contribute to leadership identity development? And like I said earlier, how you see yourself translate to what happened, how people see what is happening, like in leadership, translate to what eventually happen in terms of like food system development. So the second part just relates to the first one, which is how Ivato do tricot participation and participants now engage in food system leadership after they've seen themselves like differently. So so I'll go straight into my method, but like I said, I had to do like a crunched version of my work. So I looked into phenomenological case studies. So tricots in that Osun State and with those participants as the case. Then because I'm looking into their lived experiences, not just like the case. So that's why I had to combine phenomenology alongside case study. Then I interviewed like 15 tricot participants, then 9 focus group in general, which include like tricot staff, then also the community members. So because I'm looking into leadership identity, like I said, it involves claiming and granting of leadership. So I wanted to know people that claim leadership are the tricot participants. So that's why they were interviewed. The people that granted, because leadership identity development is not completed until people grant leadership. So that's why I also interview people that are non-tricot participants. So there were 2 methods of like coding, which is a mixture of in vivo and descriptive coding. So I transcribed the data in Yoruba, then I analyzed it using structural coding, then which helped me to form my team in thematic analysis. So this is going to be my findings. So I divided my findings into research questions. So the first one is how Ivato is participation in tricot perceived to contribute to leadership identity development. I couldn't put the quotes so as to not use over time. So for this, some of my teams that emerged from the study, and I will still share my study with IITA. So anybody that needs some of the codes can always have access to it. So one of the teams that emerged was people were claiming leadership identity through improved competencies. So I saw from here that participation in tricots enabled like leadership worthiness through knowledge acquisition. For example, some people said that when they participated in tricot, they knew a lot of like knowledge. So because of that, they know how to advise other farmers. So that made them see themselves differently as somebody that can advise other people. And there was even a participant that said that even in the community, because they have participated, when they talk, people listen. So that enabled them to see themselves differently. And in a way, it's provided a platform for like leadership worthiness. But this worthiness was through knowledge acquisition of like spacing techniques, like just agronomic practices they learned, value addition practices, apart from other tricots, knowledge that tricots offered. So another thing was shifting of perception of self towards leadership. And I really like one of the quotes. I wish there was time, and it was a long quote, and the participant said he saw himself like differently as somebody that can contribute to society, and that shows the way including grassroots stakeholders affect the way they see themselves. He said he saw himself as somebody that is progressive, somebody that can contribute, somebody whose knowledge matters. So this self-perception was shifting towards leadership. So another category that occurred in my study was people in the community granting leadership status. Like I said, leadership is not completed until people grant leadership to people that are claiming it. But I would have to say that this is not, I mean, it didn't happen like, in order. It just happened because there are sometimes people claim leadership first before people grant leadership to people, tricot participants before they actually claimed leadership. So this is, on this, participants discussed the granting of elevated status in the society. So people started seeing them differently. And they use the term, because I analyzed in Yoruba, so they use the term that they see them as Oloye, that people that are like so different, that the status is very different in the society. So people see them as progressive people. granting. So that's different from their own self-perception. So this is more like the social status in the community. So in this regard, another thing that occurred regarding granting was people started offering them leadership position. One of the participants discussed that he was given a treasurer that he doesn't even attend a meeting before. Farmers Association meeting, but when he started participating, they granted him like a treasurer position. Other people said, and even non-tricot participants that I interviewed, they mentioned that they were pushing tricot participant forward when it comes to like things like representing them outside of the community. They use the word siwaju, which is a Yoruba word, which means like put them forward to communicate with people outside of the community. So that was more like a way they granted them like leadership status. So another thing that happened was requesting of advisory services. So people thought in the community that they were much more advanced in knowledge, and as a result of that, they started asking them for questions on like agronomic processes. But the last thing on this granting, I had to separate it from everything because it's very connected, and which is like a granting of leadership based on evidence. So this is connected to all these social status, responsibility and advisory services. But it's very important because in the community, people granted them leadership because they saw the difference. So I just saw that it was because a lot of participants said non-tricot participants and also tricot participants because they saw the difference. So it wasn't more of like knowledge that they enforced on people. It was because the participatory variety testing was occurring in the community and participants saw the effects, like they used the word again that more like they saw the outcome that the cassava was very good. The varieties they were giving to tricot participants were very good. They saw the outcome on their farm that it was very different. And they also saw that the agronomic practices, the value addition, everything was so different. So because of that, they were asking them questions, they were giving them responsibility because they thought they've progressed. So this I wasn't expecting when I started my study, but it was very, very predominant in my findings, which is enabling environment for leadership. And this particular thing was on legitimacy and trust about the institution that is implementing citizen science initiative, especially in this case, tricot. So participants discussed that leadership was encouraged through institutional legitimacy, and one of those things is the way tricot did the approach. So like inclusivity, women, because there were like things on gender that women weren't given access to land like their male men counterparts in the community, but tricot intentionally used like one plot of land. So very few minimal requirement for land. So everybody were involved. So that affected leadership development of people that weren't even considered or in the community doesn't really emerge as leader. So it was more like inclusive approach. So the design for implementation affected inclusion. Another thing that facilitated the environment for leadership was the culture. So it might be different in another country, but I had to mention it because the culture play a role. Like non-tricot participants said, there is nothing that tricot participants do that they do not know. So because of the way the environment is situated, in the sense that people see other people's farms, so it's not fenced. They said that some tricot participants even said that whenever the tricot participants harvest their cassava after like testing and everything, that because of the cassava stem, people will come to their farm and take it, that sometimes they even scare people away, like he said it jokingly. So it was more like a communal setting where people could even go to another person's farm and pick up some of these stem varieties. So that occurred in the study. So I would like to also point this, and it was more like a disruption of leadership identity through unaligned expectation. So some participants discussed that some, especially tricot lead farmers, they discussed that some people dropped out of tricot participation because of they were expecting money, and tricot wasn't, even though they supported like agronomic practices like weeding, and they give the output of production, output of the testing, like in terms of like the cassava, even result of value addition like the gari to farmers, but still some farmers still wanted monetary compensation. So because it wasn't, maybe they were granting them loan or something, so they were like unaligned expectation. And I noticed that for non-tricot participants too, some of them are thinking that they've given them money, like they've given tricot participant money, and people are saying participation in tricot, everybody wants their status elevated, so they want to join. So I just noticed that was like a disruption of like leadership identity, because when you are claiming something and somebody is expecting a different thing, it doesn't really let leadership take place because of unaligned expectation. So unaligned expectation between the tricot participants and like the institution, and also the tricot participants and the non-tricot participants. So they were like things that needs to be aligned in that regard. So I will go straight to my second question. So how, if at all, do tricot participants engage in food system leadership? So the three themes that emerged, I mean category that emerged in this second research question is engaging in food system leadership. So this is a category. So the themes that emerge were strengthening seed system via influence. So in this regard, the participants, I mean tricot participants, they really extended, they used the word extension. A lot of them used the word, they extended the seed system, like the cassava variety that they love, even without the initiative of like the tricot staffs that are helping them. So they, by their own initiative, decided to expand the variety that they love, the variety that they feel that is of interest to them. So they did that through giving to other people in the community. They chose the one they preferred, and they started perpetuating it on their farm by multiplying it, then also sharing to other members of the community for them too. So they use the word Yoruba and more like they don't want it to go into extinction. So they use their influence to kind of perpetuate it on their own farm via example, then also shared with other people. So the second one that emerged from this is advancing value addition through innovation and teaching. So for this, in fact, some of the participants discussed that they tried the variety on different products. And even tricot staff also mentioned that a lot of participants also tried it on like even products that are not within their own community, like banku, which is a Ghanaian food. So it's expanded people's knowledge of value addition. So they shared it, and even participants said even when they go for training in IIT, that they saw a lot of things they could use cassava for. They tried it and they shared with other people this knowledge. So they were trying some of this variety to know which variety works best on a value-added product by innovation by themselves. Then they also shared the knowledge with other people. So the second thing that emerged from the third thing was building capacity through knowledge sharing. So participants discussed how they were able to like share their agronomic practices that they've learned from IITA to other people in the community. So because of that, they were able to like share knowledge, and people even asked them questions. So because claiming was granting of leadership was occurring in that regard, so participants were able to claim that by sharing knowledge. So that's how leadership occur in that regard. So the fourth thing I would like to say was that emerged was serving as advocate and bridge to enhance agricultural development. So in this regard, participants discussed that sometimes when they notice that this variety doesn't perform well on maybe their colleagues' farm, that they report these things to IITA. And one participant and also the tricot staff also discussed that there was a situation where people wanted to even extend this variety more in their community, but because of limited access to land, they had to meet IITA staff to help them. And a participant also mentioned that they had to go to the king with IITA support, a letter from IITA to give them a land just for them to extend this variety. So that is leadership, a form of like advocacy. Some of them even say that there are some varieties that are not occurring in, maybe present in their community, but they do tell the tricot staff, which whenever they are coming, they bring for them. So tricot participants served as bridge, and even community help them to serve as bridge in the sense that they share whatever they need with them. And there's like a link between tricot participants and also the researchers and tricot staff. So another thing that emerged was aspiring to extend food system leadership. So in this regard, participants discussed that they wanted more, and they said that they are not okay with just tricot participants happening in the community. They are not okay with tricots just with cassava variety and sweet potato. They want maize, they suggested yam, so they want to do more. And this is also like an area of conflict, because I wrote it in my dissertation as tension, because tricots intentionally chose like a limited amount of land for inclusivity, because when I interviewed the tricot staff, they mentioned that they wanted everybody to be participants. So that's why they did not want it to be based on people that have access to large lands. But because tricot participants want more, especially not letting those varieties that they really like to go into extinction, but they are asking for more, including the women that don't even have, because they were like, again, that I want fair cook more, like they want the variety to be, they want more of that multiplication in their community. So they aspire to do more, but they are limited in terms of like the number of varieties given to them, and also the number of crops that tricots is involved in. So another thing that now happened for this food system leadership is constraining of like food system leadership. So people encounter like gender-related barrier. This didn't occur as a theme for the tricot participant, but more from the tricot staff, who discussed that some of these varieties wherein like some of the women, they don't have access to land, which prevents them from having opportunity to perpetuate or even multiply some of the varieties they love. So that is one of the things that emerge. Another thing is the farmer-herder conflict. Some participants said it disrupted their variety testing, and it also affects the availability of land for that. And like I've been talking about, struggling for land access. So people feel that they don't have access to land to help them. So because this is a variety testing, it deals with a lot of land. So that's why most of the constraints to food system leadership is mostly on land production. So I would just like to go to the most important part, which is like the discussion. And I was thinking about leadership occurring because of variety testing, because most of the leadership that occurred was because people had access to land. They had access to these resources in terms of like varieties that were given to tricot participants. And I was like, after tricot end, will leadership occur? Will leadership continue? Will there be like claiming and granting? So I just recommended that there should be like a program exit setup, which even to tricot participants, and this is one of the advantage of constructive research. So tricot staff to also mention something like that, that there should be like a program exit setup so that leadership will continue. In the earlier part of my presentation, I mentioned that leadership identity occur with claiming and granting. So if it discontinues, then leadership doesn't continue to like occur in the community. So more like linking program exit setup can be like linking participants to other ITA initiatives so that they can be like seed entrepreneurs, other things where leadership could occur. Then also there should be a form of like reflection and orientation. I think that would affect, that would reduce the unaligned expectations. So people will know that they are not serving themselves. So I think one of those things about Tricot that makes it different from other approach that use like the lead farmers in quotes initiative is this is not about self, it's about service. So because you are testing a variety for other people just so that research community know this is variety that works for the community. So when participants are quite engage in like reflection, they shouldn't just like be participating because reflection and leadership development research have shown that they go hand in hand. So when people make meaning of their participation, that would because meaning making helps in leadership development. So how you see yourself comes from how you make meaning of your situation. So if participants are engaging like maybe monthly or even during those variety testing like 3 months reflexive activities, they must start seeing themselves as leaders, and they will know that this is just beyond just performing, because some of them use the word Oshishe RITA. So it is beyond RITA. It is about food system development. Then dialogue and shared visioning, just to like reduce those unaligned expectations, especially for people that are dropped out. Like there should be more like this is about food system development. You are not working for us. Your knowledge is important. Your knowledge is for food system development. And participants really want to, because some of them even see farming as leadership. They mentioned that during the study that farming is even like contributing to food system development. So when they know that this is beyond them, they wouldn't mind to participate. Then also the importance of legitimacy, I cannot overemphasize, because even some of the Tricot participants mentioned that they are treating Tricot participants well. I mean, their own people. They said they are treating our people well. So that's what they said in Yoruba. They are treating our people well, and there is trustworthiness. And I remember one of the Tricot staff said even when they came to the community at first, there were like a restriction. But when people saw that they were giving them the outcome of the variety testing in terms of like output and cassava and the quality, then IITA again in the community, they are known for quality variety. So people said again IITA manda that the variety are always very good. So some of those things are one of those things that affected like leadership. And even the participants said if they are not treating their people well, that they will not come for data collection, even to talk with me. I mean, the non-Tricot participant. So the legitimacy of organization implementing participatory approach like citizen science is very important to leadership development. Then because of those farmer-elder conflicts and also things like land access, there should be more like a agricultural policy on to mitigate that, because when you don't have opportunity to engage in leadership, then you are constrained by a lot of institutional factor. You can't engage that. So that's one of those things that I recommended for citizen science practice. So for this other future research, I like grounded theory. Like I said, I used leadership theory that is Western. So it might be different. Maybe if I didn't ask them some questions, what could emerge from the studies might be different. Another thing I would like to say is on agricultural outcomes, like what is the influence on like agricultural production in general, yield, and other things in the community. There are other things too I would like to share, which is like increase in social capital, maybe social network. How do people now extend? Do they have more people that they reach out to outside of participation? Because that was my initial approach for social network analysis. So how do cassava variety spread because of participation in Tricot? Then other thing I would like to also check is outside of the cultural context, which is like Osun State, which their land is like very similar, because that was really a major effect on production, on leadership, because people requested leadership because they saw the difference. So it wasn't like they were enforcing knowledge, like knowledge or maybe science. It was because they feel, okay, they compare this knowledge by themselves to what they've been seeing, what they've been doing before. How does that translate? How is this outcome different from what we do? So that's why some of them accepted some of those knowledge, because that's also very important in participatory approach, so that you are not just enforcing what you think is best, but community are by themselves critiquing what knowledge counts and what matters for agricultural production. Then citizen science initiative are different. My phenomenon for study is citizen science, but my case is tricot, and tricot has some peculiarity that makes leadership work. So other citizen science initiative, they could be like research. Would there be the same outcome of on leadership development within the community? So that's my presentation. So thank you. I hope I was within time, Rachel.
Thank you very much. Great job, Bolanle. It's really interesting. We
Yeah.
spend so much time looking at the research side of things, at the
Yeah.
methods, but it's nice to take a deep dive into what the participants, the farmers get out of this and what's important to them. So thank you very much for that. I'll go ahead and open the floor now for any questions. For Bolanle, just raise your virtual hand. If you just click on React at the bottom of the screen, you'll find your hand. I've got one from Linus. Please go ahead and ask your question. I think you need to unmute, Linus. We can't hear you. Please.
Asking me to show my QR code.
Hello, I wasn't asking question per se. I was only clapping for the presentation.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you.
thought it was a question hand.
Not at all. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Shahu, go ahead with your question. I think that's a question hand. Shahu, can you unmute, please? Oh. We can't hear you.
Hello? Can you hear
Hello,
me?
there you go. Okay,
It's okay.
go ahead.
I said okay. I'm seeing focus. Well done for the presentation by the able scientist Adebayo in the hall. Thank you so much. And I think tricot has come to stay. But I quickly want to also add the tricot. I know you did so much in East and so much in West and even the Middle Belt. I know there was some participation of tricots, but in your reporting, I'm hearing more of once you get the Yoruba people said this language, this language, this language. I know there's also be a similar language for the Yorubas to hear, because you know we're in a very diverse. Nigeria is so diverse. So if your own presentation, the Igbo is the Yoruba is come almost 2 or 3 times, but just a fraction of this. I know Igbo also have their own version, and the Middle Belt also have their own version, and these three zones grow cassava very well, and I know this tricot has been pushed to those places that are doing well. So please also learn their language small to incorporate it inside this, to make it add more beauty to it. That's one. Two, and also know for continuity, when you're saying continuity, I know it may come to stay. Part of what we did, which I think was also doing cassava, is we are using the Nigerian Soybean Association. Is an established society already, association that cut across more than 20 states. They have framework of leadership in some places, in some states. They have over 3,000 members, 1,000 members. So with them, it is from there we now pick out. We now say, okay, send us 10, 20 people. Out of 20, we pick the lead farmers. We interview them. Some may not have Android phone, some may not be good, some in one area or the other. Then we need to do that, because we're trying to also say, okay, for continuity. So from the onset, we're trying to bring major players inside, like the NSC, Nigerian Soybean Association, and then part of the ADP, because they're already established structure on ground. So that's just some areas I want to also make some green light. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On the language, it was actually intentional to use just the language because my research based on academia issues, it has to fall under indigenous research. So, and language is very important when it comes to like meaning making of how people even translate their experience. So, I had to even like present my data, even though I'm like in a English speaking school in Yoruba and English for my results, because they felt like it has to elevate participant voice. So that's why I used that. So because currently I collected data in Osun State, which for future research I would like to also know because cultural setting affects in a way how leadership occurs. And this is just in summary. Some of the way leadership occurs are in my major work. So language is just very important. So sorry for that. I was just trying to elevate participants' voice, which in a different case it will be different. And I appreciate what you said about continuity because participants also want more and they don't want to just be used. They want continuation of this, especially extension in other crop that are not currently trichots because trichots currently is like sweet potato and cassava in the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shahu. Any other questions or comments for Bolanle? Don't hesitate to raise your hand or put it in the chat. And maybe, Bolanle, you can tell us about the photo that Bella put into the chat. I don't know if you can see it. There's a group of people there. Maybe those are farmers that you interviewed. Or maybe Bella can tell us about that photo.
And okay, so that is when they went to the king. So they had a picture of when IIT supported their leadership to go to the king. Because that was not even part of like Tricot
King,
initiative.
okay.
It was participants that requested for that. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, just to clarify, no, this was like based on the testimonies created and enthusiasm of the farmers. They went to the king and he offered some land and he wanted some clear guidelines on how the specific varieties could be multiplied.
That's
So this was
fantastic.
kind of
Yeah.
that is. I want to say something about the comment about these bigger organizations. No, of course we have in Nigeria have the Cassava Growers Association and all these things. Tricot comes in at a grassroots level. No, usually if you go to talk to these big organizations, there's a lot of politics involved. No, yeah, this variety is good, and then I have so many tons per hectare, and then there's this kind of push for specific varieties. So this is coming from underneath. You know, this is really going to individual communities. What is working the best in your community, and doing that in a lot of communities will elicit some varieties that have particular traits that do well. There's a lot of serendipity and discovery here as well. And from there, those varieties can then be promoted at a higher level. And that it is at after this stage, actually, that if we have these communities that are enthusiastic, that are uh, cooperating, that you can define and yeah, get varieties, promote varieties that then can go to these higher institutions. That's very important to include these data and show, okay, this is this is very good variety, and then you come with that data and that story to those bigger associations, and that link is important indeed. It should be made because then you kind of, you have the evidence that people like the variety, and then you have something, a reason to give it to them, no, at higher level because you have them testing it. So that's very important. And the other thing that I really is crucial here is, I think that we see here that it's all that people really like to cooperate because they get knowledge. No, it becomes like an epistemic culture, as to speak with Cetina, who wrote that book. It's cooperation based on the profession. No? People feel that they are addressed in their profession, that they are addressed in the work that they are doing, even if it are very small scale farmers. They feel empowered because now their work apparently is meaning something in a larger community of practice of work, and that is crucial, I think, so that we get over that gap, or always that gap of researchers developing something, testing it, and then seeing if the community likes it. No, there has to be iterative learning loops, because there's so many factors involved here. Climate change, social change, uh, different preferences, all these things. So it really needs some kind of structured trial and error, and that's what tricot is doing, I think. And it shows if it is done well, especially in choosing also the participants, making sure that you have local people from different local relevant social classes with experiments in cassava cultivation, that you select those so that you get good feelers. No, this is about feelers and on the ground information, structurally organized and feeding back to higher levels.
Thank you for
Yeah, I would just like to add to that. One of those things I saw from my study too, Batsman mentioned that they are very much aware that the way tricot, some of these variety perform on their farm, I mean, in their own community is different from the way it will perform in other community. And I think that's a very important knowledge for grassroots farmers to know. So they chose the one they want to like multiply, the one that does well in their community, and they are very much aware that because of like climate, things are so different, and variety can perform differently on different community. So
great. We've got a question from Stefan. We'd like to go ahead and ask, please.
Yeah, thanks for the nice presentation. Where this research is headed, maybe after this point, is also something I'm interested in. The research looks at the effect of leadership on food systems. I'm wondering, I think food systems is more on the upper end of what happens as an impact. In your research, did you look at the impact of leadership on first outputs, such as improving variety, diversity, or improving a bit of the early adoption as a precursor to food system, which seems to be on the bigger end of the impact?
Oh, thank you so much. And if there's anything I would do, like after this study, if I'm like granted that opportunity, it will be on the agricultural outcome. So that also came up during my exam with my committee, that on like what's the agricultural outcome, because it's food system development. But for the scope of my study, because I can't do everything within research for this particular school, it was on food system leadership, not food system development. So I was just interested in like the relational aspect of leadership. So if I was supposed to extend, which I think maybe could have been my third research question, and one of my corrections now is on this agricultural outcome. So they still want me to kind of include it in my current dissertation, but I didn't really ask questions on that because it wasn't within the scope of my research question. But like you said, if there is anything about where the research is headed, it would be definitely agricultural outcome, because I'm much more concerned about like food system development. What's the essence of leadership on food system development? So that's the area to explore. But for this current study, it wasn't so explicit. It was mentioned here and there, which I will still emphasize more as I work on my correction before printing, but it wasn't really the core of the study.
Sounds like it could be a nice postdoctoral research topic for you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Stefan. Any other questions from anybody or comments? Bella, your hand is still up. I'm assuming that's an old hand. Or do you? Okay, now it's down. Yes. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, let me just see. Wait. Bella has written something in the chat. see here Juan Landano's presentation showing how we include tricot farmers on internalizing the results, so they're able to use the tricot results that combine results from large number of farmers and their varietal strategy. Okay, so there's a link to
This
that
is just
webinar.
an example on how we practically cultivate that community of practice with them.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bella. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, then I'll close this webinar. And let me just try to share my screen. Okay, yes. And it's the last webinar of the year. I appreciate all of you making it a very successful year of 1,000 Farm webinars. And I'm hoping that wherever you are in the world and whatever you're celebrating, that you have a very happy holiday. And we'll see you at the beginning of 2026 for lots of new webinars about interesting topics with tricot, and we're looking forward to that. So happy holidays, everybody. Thank you very much for joining.